What is going on, everybody? RJ here from the Silver Site, and today I'm going to be breaking down Season 2, Episode 2, The Kindness of Strangers, from the show From, which is now streaming on MGM. I feel like there was a lot smoother way to say that, but that's how it came out, and you get what you get. But before we get started, if you're interested, every Monday at 7:15, 7:30ish here on YouTube and Facebook, one of my good friends, Utaka, and I, along with some other friends, break down each episode of the new season live on YouTube. We have theories, breakdown discussions, lots of laughs, good times, with good friends reviewing good television. So if you have time, feel free to swing by. I'll drop the link down below in the description so you can join the chat. We respond real time to comments and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you drop on by. All right, with all that being said, let's get into it. So the synopsis of episode 2 reads, a tense night in the diner as the residents and newcomers wait for sunrise. Fear permeates the wreckage beneath the Matthews house as Jim and Tom struggle to keep a panicked bus of passengers quiet. Y'all, this episode was intense. The chaos, the suspense, the mystery, all amped up this episode. I want to say that I knew I was going to be on the edge of my seat, waiting to see what happened with Tom and Boyd and Jim, but I didn't expect to have my heart be beating out my chest and me sitting on the edge of my seat. But let's go ahead and talk about it. I want to start out with Boyd. So last episode, Boyd found himself in the chimney, and a man threw a rope into him. A man threw the rope into the chimney so Boyd can climb out. So when Boyd gets to the top, he sees an old frail man chained to a wall, which begs the question, how the hell did he manage to get the rope in the hole for Boyd? Did he throw it with his feet? I don't know. It makes me think, is this man who he says he is? Anyway, so the man, I believe, is introduced as Martin, I believe. I hope I got that right. But he introduces himself as Martin, and he kind of is explaining how a little bit of what he knows. He says that he thought the monsters were the worst thing in the town until he went through the trees, which kind of gives us an answer that we kind of already knew, is that there's way more to this than what we know as far as like the monsters are concerned. He tells us that the monsters are the tip of the iceberg. And it's like, well, we kind of knew that. Can you give me a little more? But he does, and then he doesn't at the same time, which I can understand why well, my broadcast partner, Utaka, is a little frustrated. Not frustrated, why he kind of wants answers, and I'm kind of just enjoying the mystery. But I do feel like he could have gave us a little bit more than that. Like, we knew that the monsters were the tip of the iceberg when the radio collapsed, when the tower collapsed. But, Boyd asked Martin how long he's been there, and he says it's been years, and he kind of like begs him to go before they come back. Now, my whole thing is like, I need to know who is they. Who is they? Who changed you up? And what are they going to do if they see me when they come back? We didn't really get any answers about that, and that's okay with me because we're getting more of a mystery. But Martin does explain that the people in the forest are not responsible for what happened to him, and that they literally are just the tip of the spear. Which, like I said before, we knew that. You're gonna have to give us a little bit more than that, sir. And so then there's a music box that starts playing. And he tells Boyd that you have to get out of here before the music box starts. Now, the music box had a little ballerina in it, I believe, that was turning. I don't know what the significance or the symbolism behind that was, but definitely creepy. From has done a very good job of incorporating different creepy elements into it, and that definitely got next to me. Music boxes to me have always been kind of creepy, and just to seeing a music box in this situation, in this town, I don't want no parts of it. I would have left. They ain't got to tell me twice. Get out of here before they come back. The door would already be closing right behind me. Sorry, bro. Got to get out. But so another thing that was weird too is I want to know what Martin knows, because he asked Boyd if does he think that Abby was right about all of this being a dream. So I want to know, who's Martin? When did he get here? And how does he know Boyd's was his wife, how does he know her? And how does he know that she thought this was all a dream? So in freeing Boyd and trying to free him, he sees the little, I guess, the creatures crawling underneath his skin, and I guess he cuts himself and presses the wound against each other, and he recites, "My blood is your blood," transferring whatever curse he had from Martin to Boyd. Now that raises the question: how the hell did Sarah get the curse? Did someone infect Sarah? How did it happen? It just, like I said, it just raises more questions, and which I'm fine with, but I'm gonna need a little bit of answers because I'm trying to piece it together, but none of it's making sense about it because I don't have enough information. So Martin ends up dying, and Boyd makes his way out of, I guess, the tunnels, the caves, wherever he's at. A dog appears to him, not sure the significance of the dog or the animals or the animal guide, but they begin to, he begins to lead Boyd to safety, and we'll meet up with Boyd or touch on Boyd after that, after I touch on some other stuff. So meanwhile, let's talk about Jim and Tom in this fallen house and how intense it was, because when I tell you I was on the edge of my seat, my heart was beating out my chest. I was scared. I was sweating. I was under my covers. I had to keep pausing. It was a lot between Megaphone Tabitha in the hallways in the catacombs or whatever last week being loud as hell, between Fatima trying to save everybody's episode, and between that kid that would not stop screaming. Bro, I was on 10. I love this whole portion. I love this storyline of this episode. So basically what ends up happening is, like how we saw, they had to leave Jim last week under the house during nightfall and pray that they were going to make it to sunrise. So Tom and Jim, they know the deal already, so they're quiet as they can possibly be. The thing that was working against them was a gentleman that was on the bus that got trapped with them, who was, I guess he had internal bleeding. And when I tell you this was the loudest on-screen death of somebody bleeding internally that I have ever witnessed. When I tell you this man was so loud, I promise you, if they would have picked a rock up and launched it at him to knock him out, I wouldn't have cared. I would have applauded them, because the way this man made every single effort to make sure he was louder and louder every time, bro, at this point, just bleed out and die. But I will say this, I kind of got irritated because you know that people are not going to believe the supernatural element to everything you're going through right now. You need to make up a lie and say, bro, there's bears out here. Like there are violent bears out here that will eat you every night. This is why we have to be quiet. If you do not be quiet, a bear is going to come. There was no effort to lie. It was literally like, hey, kid, you got to be quiet. Why? Give this man a reason to be quiet. Tell me to be quiet is not just enough. And I know you have to, and I know sometimes it's writing for the sake of writing, but damn, like, where's your effort to stay alive? Like, just zero instincts, zero. And anyway, long story short, the kid makes noise to the point where it does attract the creature. And unfortunately, Tom ends up dying. Surprise, surprise. We knew that was going to happen. We knew somebody wasn't going to make it. We knew it wasn't going to be, we knew Jim was going to make it. But Tom ends up getting eaten alive. And, and during this, he's screaming bloody murder because, well, he's getting murdered bloodily. And Julia, and, shout out to the actress that plays Julia, man. Because her emotion in this scene, you can tell it was just gut wrenching to hear what she thought was her dad's like final screams. And I want to say I watched the interview with Viola Davis when they asked her, how do you play certain characters? And she said, you can't judge a character for their choices. You have to meet them where they're at or something like that, and just kind of respect their choices as a character. And I had to kind of like, at first I was like, well, why are you trying to go out there? You know, there's nothing you can do. But then I had to think that if that was somebody that I loved, if that was my mom or my dad, I feel like my logic would also go out the window. And I'm going to think that my adrenaline is going to be so pumped to the point where, yeah, I could go down there. I could, hit him with a 2-piece, grab my mom, scoop her up and run back in the house. Like, I can lift all that stuff off my mom myself and make sure she's okay. Like you don't realize in that moment that you are limited. You are human. And I think that she was willing to throw everything out the window just for, a 1% chance of saving her dad, or, like I said, we just don't know where her brain was at. But I really want to commend the actress who plays Julie, because that scene, like, chef's kiss. But like I said, Tom ends up dead, and it just, heartbreaking. But so I want to wrap around to the diner real quick. Donna is in the diner trying to control what is now absolute chaos. These people do not believe her. She's holding them at gunpoint. Everybody's scared. It's nighttime, and they are hearing the chaotic screams of everybody out there. And I want to say that some of the newcomers on the bus are slowly starting to believe what Donna and the rest of the people were saying. But then there's also, you always have those group of people that try to be like Billy Badass and want to be in charge and overthrow shit. And that's what he was basically doing. So I'm not sure what the gentleman's name is, but he manages to, I guess, kidnap Kenny. And let me tell you something. Kenny to me is weak sauce. I don't like Kenny. I feel like he needs to toughen up a little bit, because he needs to toughen up, and he needs to have a lot better survival IQ, because there's no way that you should have gotten taken that quick. But yeah, so he ends up grabbing the gun and, temporarily being in charge. But, Donna and the squad quickly fix that. Donna, that's my heart right there. That's my favorite character. But they end up, taking charge of it and, tell him he's not going anywhere, make him sit down. All while they're hearing all of these screams, and there's just the chaos out there. And like I said, I think they're slowly starting to believe it. We have a couple of characters that end up interacting with some of the monsters. And of course, they meet a very, very gruesome death. We have the older couple, which absolutely broke my heart, on the bus, thinking that they were safe. And, then Smiley, that's what I call him, Smiley got him, man. The little cute, old, innocent couple on the bus ended up being torn to shreds. And then you had the two people that were hiding out in the bar. I'm pretty sure whatever's going to happen to them is not good. It's going to be brutal. Hiding in the bar, who ended up opening the door. And it was crazy because there literally was a talisman on the door. They were safe. And you can tell that, something's going to happen. Something bad is going to happen to them. Then you have just the town people, just the creatures in the town really just wreaking havoc on these unsuspecting, ignorant people who just so happen to really wander into a terrible situation and, now have faced a terrible fate. But with all this running going around, I want to talk about Tabitha and Victor, actually. So Tabitha and Victor end up making it to this trailer that Victor has. And then Victor has collected things throughout the years from people who have stopped. He has a few of his own things in there, stuff from his mom. He said, he came in with his mom originally and how nice his mom was. Victor, to me, is a complex character because he has this childlike innocence to him, but he also has this really dark knowledge of, what this place is, because he's been there the longest everybody that's been there. And it's when you've seen the things that Victor has seen and lived the way Victor has lived for so long, you have to think he came there decades before talismans were even a thing. So imagine having to run and hide every single night for your life. And, and like I said, he's been seeing things, and I guess the boy in white, and Victor knows a lot more than the average person on this show knows. And, he's constantly drawing pictures and trying to piece things together. And I want to say this too, Victor, you have been drawing for how many years and you have not gotten any better? At some point, man, I'm going to need you to learn how to shade. I'm going to need you to learn how to shade. I'm going to need you to learn how to outline. I'm going to need you to learn how to add texture. I'm going to need for you to really bump your art skills up, man, because you still drawing the kids on Bagul Sinisters. What's that movie? When they draw the little pictures and stuff like that. You're still I feel like we could get a little bit more help and a little more clarity if you just drew a little bit better. But that's one critique I have of your drawing, Victor. But one of my favorite characters. But God, please draw better, man. But yeah, Victor. So Victor and Tabitha are kind of held up in there, and they don't have a talisman, so they kind of just close the door and hope for the best. And they're kind of just talking about everything, and just trying to come to calm themselves down as they wait for sunrise. And in doing this, Boyd, well, circling back to Boyd ends up finding the trailer, and he has a talisman that he found when he was, I guess, with Martin, when he was free of Martin, that he's free of Martin. And so he ends up coming in and jumping in the trailer, and on the way into the trailer, Elgin, who actually was one of the people on the bus that ran away with the gunshots, is trying to escape some of the creatures. So they end up, not welcoming Elgin in, but allowing him to come in, and Elgin let them know that he was on the bus, and they're like, what bus? And so they hold up there for the night, and they're just kind of like talking or whatever. But that's kind of what happened with them. Oh, rewinded. Let me talk about Fatima. Bro, I get it. I get why Julia did what she did. I get why she tried to go step out. Fatima, please. There was nothing you could have done for those people. Y'all tried to tell them. You tried to warn them. You're running outside, risking being torn to shreds for people that didn't listen to you. You don't know. You got stuff going on. You got a whole man, you got people to live for, and you about to risk it all trying to save them all. Let it go. Let it go. And I really commend Boyd's son for the way he handled that. He tried to talk her down. He pulled her back in. He didn't panic. He met her where she was at. He validated her feelings, but he also kind of helped her work through like, hey, there's nothing we can do. He really was instrumental in snapping her back to reality. So I commend his character for how he played that. And I'm really interested to see how he grows into a man in this series, because that right there shows his willingness to kind of do what it takes to protect her, to make sure she makes good decisions, make sure she stays alive. But yeah, she was getting on my nerves, man. Like, she was on 10 this whole episode, screaming to the top of her lungs, like, well, if they didn't know they're there, they know you're there now. Like, she was on 10 this entire episode. But yeah, man, this episode was really intense. I definitely think it was a good episode to follow episode 2. It was a lot more intense. We definitely got a little bit more answers, but once again, you get a half of an answer and get 20 more questions with the show, which I feel like that can be a good thing with the show, but it also can be something that is frustrating. As someone who, was heavy into Lost, I get it. But this show is different. It's more of a horror element, and I feel like this mystery is more cohesive, whereas Lost was a little bit all over the place. But I feel like the mystery is more linear, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what happens. We leave off in the morning with Julia screaming to Victor, trying to see if he's alive, and it's one of those things, man, where you just never know who's gonna make it. You never know who's gonna make it. But we have a lot to discuss, and I can't wait to break it down with you guys. Make sure you tune in Mondays at 7:15 on YouTube. The link will be down below in the description. We can't wait to break this down with you live and give our theories. This show is so much fun to watch. We really enjoyed season 1, and we're having so much fun breaking down season 2. So with that being said, let me know what you guys thought about this video and episode 2, and any theories you might have down below in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Later days.